What's up guys, Houndish here, and today I wanted to round up some Destiny 2 stuff. We have yet more hints and little bits of information about the exotic tuning and the Sandbox tuning coming at the end of March. We have a couple of other quick updates from Bungie, some conversation about the Nightfall scoring cheese, and I wanted to show a little bit of gameplay of the new Iron Banner weapons. Firstly though, I wanted to point out a couple of classified items in the database. So I spoke about an emblem called Karhei a few days ago, and obviously this has the Warmind icon on it. It's actually a pre-order emblem for a vinyl ghost toy that is coming out around the time the DLC launches. There is another emblem in the database, Hype. Everyone is so hyped about emblems right now, man. Of course, I'm only being sarcastic, but this is clearly another DLC emblem right here. This one isn't actually in the item list for Destiny 2. It doesn't have a name or anything like that, but we can see that it has that Warmind icon once again, and these kind of triangular shapes, I'm not entirely sure what they are, but they are very similar to what you see in the Arecibo adventure. So the clear link to the Warminds and the DLC is obviously there. So there are already classified items in the database for the future expansion, and if you look at something like Light GG, you can just see tons of classified pieces of gear and everything like that still in the database. But of course, the important thing happening before we get to that expansion is the update coming on the 27th of March. Somebody actually posted on the forums who's excited for March 27th, and DMG did say, judging from the fun we've been having in playtests, I'm fairly excited to see the changes in your hands. I'll see if we can get some more Sandbox details from update 1.1.4 for you in this week's TWAB. So it's looking like this week we'll get a little bit more information about that tuning update. Plus we do have new Nightfall weapons that they're bringing in as well, so I'd anticipate in the next couple of weeks we'll get a look at some of that stuff. But John Wisniewski did drop a couple of hints about some of the exotic tuning. So he said, exotic tuning playtest update, I just saw the Sturm and Drang take first place in 8-player Rumble. So obviously giving us more hints to some of those exotic buffs. He also tweeted, when you boot up the build in the morning, NFX has done their new pass on the redacted projectile tracers. Obviously it's hard to say exactly what they're referring to here. Could be talking about grenade launchers, fusion rifles, or even the tractor cannon. It could be a new exotic, but it definitely seems that on the front of exotics and the tuning stuff, they're really wanting to kind of revitalize exotic gear in the game. Also, DMG did say that there are some changes being cooked up in update 1.1.4 for grenade launchers. Had a blast today in a playtest, and I'll see if we can talk more about that next week with the Sandbox team. Of course, grenade launchers are not the most popular weapons in the game in general. You do have the exceptions like the Colony, simply because it has tracking, but I think pretty much everyone would agree grenade launchers need a pretty serious buff in most situations, especially in PvE content. I feel like they are a bit of a wasted opportunity. On the subject of heavy ammo, somebody did say, can we remove one player only power ammo please? Obviously this is a reference to Crucible, because it's really unfair that we have to sacrifice our power weapon usage because some lucky sap presses square faster or some asswipe shoulder bashed us on the way. And I mean, in terms of actually getting heavy from the boxes, I completely understand that frustration. DMG did say update 1.4 will introduce changes to the power ammo economy. You'll have many more opportunities aside from timed power ammo crates on the maps, and we're also tweaking power ammo spawn timers a bit, so you'll have more chances to snag crates as they spawn in general. And of course, when he says about more opportunities aside from the timed power ammo crates, he's talking about heavy actually dropping from players, so heavy will always drop from players that have it. And I think in terms of PvP, that's going to be pretty interesting, you know, just how much heavy is going to be on the map at a time once they put these changes in. There are definitely up and downsides to that, you know, in terms of the Sandbox. I haven't spoken about heavy ammo in PvE. I do feel like generally heavy ammo isn't the biggest problem in PvE, but perhaps heavy ammo synths, you know, would be a good idea at this point. There's so many situations where you either have to, you know, farm heavy or you change a weapon or something like that. I just feel like they should put synths back in the game. It's not really going to break anything. There's also a couple of updates here about Masterworks. So someone spoke about grinding for God-rolled weapons in D1 and how the Masterworks system right now is not offering that much progression. And Cosmo did say Masterworks is a V1 feature that we can definitely build upon. I'm always interested in hearing what you think would make them more desirable. So obviously when he says that, we can definitely build upon it. They may actually already be doing stuff like that for the next expansion. In terms of the March 27th update, the actual game updates, they give us quite a bit of information, but you have to remember when it comes to DLC, there could be features that they're actually working on which are, you know, something that they can't speak about right now. In the interim though, people have been asking about guaranteed Masterwork sources because this is something Bungie mentioned before. Chris Barrett says, yep, that's something the team is working on. And Erronite did refer to things like the Nightfall being an opportunity for that, which I absolutely agree. I also think it would be a good move to, do something like when you get the new Nightfall weapons, they could actually guarantee a Masterwork version when you drop it from Prestige or something like that. Again, it's not major stuff, it's not going to fix the game, but it's just tiny quality of life updates really while we wait for those bigger changes. Moving on, there has been a little bit of frustration from some players about the Nightfall scoring and all of the cheeses that you can do by using lost sectors. Pretty much every strike is going to be affected by this, and some players are a little bit concerned because Bungie did say that they're going to use the top 10% as the way to determine the threshold for scores in Nightfall scoring, and they're referring to top 10% of players actually completing those activities. But of course, with all of the cheese and everything like that, that could mean that it ends up being somewhat unfair. Cosmo did say we won't be utilizing the super high scores from the cheese method when we adjust the emblem tiers. DMG did, however, say that they are actively investigating the issue, and it's looking like they won't be able to get a fix for update 1.4, but they might get it in 1.2.0 in May when the DLC drops. You have to let me know what you guys think about the cheese and stuff like that. I mean, right now, if you want to score competitively, if that's your thing, you pretty much have to do the lost sector thing. Up next, I wanted to talk about the new Iron Banner weapons this time around. I've spoken about the perks previously, but I want to drop a little bit of gameplay right here. Firstly though, if you are playing Iron Banner this week, or if there's anything that you want to pick up, but you don't want to put a ton of time into Iron Banner, I mean, I know a lot of folks aren't actually playing until the 27th update drops, but if there is anything you want to try and pick up, do bear in mind that you have your challenges on each of your characters that'll allow you to get, quite a few more tokens without having to just grind away. And considering you can buy the weapons for 60 tokens, you could do the challenges on 3 characters for the week or something, or if you just want to pick up one gun, you can do that in a couple of hours. But this is the Orriman's Anvil. This is the kinetic auto rifle. It is 450 rounds per minute, so it's one of a very small number of 450 RPM autos that we've actually had put into the game since launch. I've actually had quite a bit of fun with this weapon. Of course, it is the Scathelock model. Yes, I know it's a reskin, but in terms of perks, it has accurized rounds, so it can bump up its range. We've got steady rounds as well, so if you want more stability, you can do that. And then it has under pressure, improved stability and accuracy as the mag gets lower, and it is noticeable under pressure. It feels, a little bit like Zen Moment. If you're firing kind of straight lines at things, this thing is just incredibly stable. Another boon for this weapon would be its range capability. It has 73 base range, and of course you can go with accurized rounds, so it has one of the highest range stats for any auto rifle in the game. You'll find that the damage drop off on this thing is very, very minimal because of that range stat, but unlike something like Uriel's Gift, I would say that this weapon, is harder to use at range. It just doesn't have that kind of magnetization that Uriel's Gift seems to have, so I don't really think it's going to replace things like Uriel's Gift, especially given the roll on that thing. You also have other options in the kinetic slot, things like Origin Story, which can do bonus damage via Rampage. There are absolutely other options out there, but this is, one of the best auto rifles I've used in PvP. It is absolutely the best weapon, you can pick up this week, in my opinion. We also have Joram's Claw. This is the pulse rifle. It's adaptive frame, so it is 360 rounds per minute. Fires just a little bit too slow for a lot of folks. This archetype isn't actually all bad though. If you use something like Inaugural Address, which is in the same class, it has some really good bonuses because you have Kill Clip as well as Outlaw, and I actually think Inaugural handles better than Joram's Claw. The big problem for me with Joram's Claw is the kind of kick on the weapon and the accuracy. At any kind of range, it's just very difficult to land your shots, and you could be in a pretty long range engagement and just lose to Uriel's Gift or something like that. It's not a terrible pulse rifle, but I think, pulse rifles in general need a little bit of love in the sandbox, and when that happens, as well as any other potential adjustments in the Crucible, this thing, could be a little bit better, but I do feel that there are better versions of, pulse rifles in this archetype. Next though, we have the Ore Wings Maul. Everyone's getting hyped because it's a grenade launcher and everyone loves them. It's a lightweight frame launcher with countermass, quick launch and confined launch. You do have concussion grenades or blinding grenades and auto-loading holster. It suffers from, the same issue that most other grenade launchers suffer from. Concussion grenades is okay in PvP, In PvE, you can use blinding grenades. They're relatively effective, if you want to play around with them. But again, right now, grenade launchers just aren't very serious weapons. You can do things with them, but you can do much more with most other weapons in that slot, and that's kind of the problem. But as I mentioned previously, Bungie are looking at a grenade launcher buff, so that's pretty much guaranteed to be interesting. Like I said though, if there was one top pick for for this Iron Banner, I would say Oromund's Anvil. It's definitely one of the best weapons they've featured in Iron Banner or Faction Rallies, in my opinion. But those are the final 3 Iron Banner weapons for Season 2. It'll be interesting to see what they do for the next couple of Iron Banners before Season 3 begins, you know. Hopefully we won't just see repeats of weapons that we've had in the past in the loot table. Otherwise though, of course, this is the final 4v4 Iron Banner for the moment. Later in March we will get the 6v6 variation as well as all the Sandbox changes. It's safe to say that, you know, however it turns out, the game is going to feel different during that Iron Banner. But that is going to sum up this quick update, guys. We are due to hear more information this week in the Bungie updates, so I'll keep you guys posted on all of that stuff as usual. But if you have enjoyed the video or found it interesting, a like is appreciated below. Let me know your thoughts on any of the stuff in the video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit subscribe if you want to see more Destiny 2 content going forward. For now though, I hope you guys have an awesome day.